Hello and welcome to the Questionable Album Club, the podcast where this beautiful panel of music fans, we attempt to blow the dust off some of rock's curios, failures and generally perceived missteps. On the panel today, we've got Andrew Steen. Hello, Steenie.
Hello and Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year to you. Hello, Ross.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Ross English, Happy New Year to you. Simon Ward. Hello, Simon.
Hello.
Hello. And Steve Gibson. Hi, Steve.
Good evening.
Today's choice, a band we haven't done before, is my choice, and I chose the Grateful Dead. We haven't had any Grateful Dead before, and I chose their 11th studio album from 1980 called Go to Heaven, and it's the one where they all look like the Bee Gees on the front. They're kind of wearing the white disco suits, and we'll talk about that because that was there was meant to be a kind of, the back cover was meant to be the opposite of it. It was meant to be kind of heaven and hell, but it didn't quite work that way. So there was a kind of conceptual thing, but everyone was like, oh my God, the Grateful Dead have gone disco like 3 years too late. Oh my God, forgot. But they actually had gone disco on a bit on Terrapin Station a few years before this. Anyway, I kind of figured, why did I choose it? Because we hadn't done any Grateful Dead. The Grateful Dead are a big band in music rock history, obviously bigger in America, huge band in America. Jerry Garcia died in 1995, the kind of leader, guitar player, visionary, the kind of guy who held it all together. They kind of continued in various iterations beyond that. But I suppose they're the ultimate jam band. So I suppose there's this kind of discrepancy between the perception of the Grateful Dead as like their greatness is perceived to be their live powers, right? Their cosmic improvisationary kind of, oh my God. Of course, they welcomed bootleggers. All their shows were taped. And their studio albums, because of course they released albums as well and cared about the charts, that sort of thing. So I kind of figured on rateyourmusic.com, which I love, it's their least rated studio album by quite a long way. And of course, this was where the Grateful Dead and the 80s are a kind of are things that people don't really think go together. So I suppose to me it would just seem perfect for this pod. We haven't talked about the Dead. The Dead Go 80s studio album, I just thought it would be quite fun for this. The records we talk about. Yes, Steve.
Were you hoping it might break into the QAC chart at all?
That's a very good point there, Steve, because we have a Thank you. Yes, as we discussed before you came on air, we have a top 10. We're hoping that tonight's discussion will launch this record into this hallowed ground of the Questionable Album Club top 10, which Steenie is now going to read to us from 10 down to 1. So, Steenie, what's our top 10?
So I'll read from 10. So number 10, we have Joni Mitchell with Dog Eat Dog.
Steenie, can I just say, this is what I meant to say before we went on air.
Oh, yeah.
The last time we did this, whoever did it commented on it, what they thought of it, and it actually worked quite well.
Steve Hackett, wasn't it? That was Steve
Hackett. Yeah, he accidentally said, "Oh, that's shit." Oh, for fuck's sake! So please feel free to be subjective about your
opinion. Okay, excellent. All right.
Like John Peel used to be on Top of the Pops.
Right. Okay. Let's do it then. Well, so number 10, Joni Mitchell, Dog Eat Dog, which I think is actually not a terrible album at all. Motorhead, the Manticore tapes. Not a surprise that that's at the top in the top 10 because it's actually really decent and it's just demo versions of songs we all know and love. Grinder Man 2, I like that record. Slayer, God Hates Us All. I'm not a fan of that as a Slayer fan. That's probably one of my least favorite Slayer albums. But anyway, Van Halen 3, 6, which I did enjoy. And number 5, The Satanic Majesty's Request by the Rolling Stones, which I also enjoyed. Number 4, Yes, with Drama, which I've only listened to in dribs and drabs. So, yeah, wouldn't comment. Number 3, The Doors with the Soft Parade, which was one that I really enjoyed. Number 2, Happy Mondays, Yes Please, which I don't think I would have enjoyed. And number 1, Rick Wakeman's Six Wives of Henry VIII, which I think everybody who was on that panel really liked.
That's why it's number 1. The whole world likes it.
One.
The Dead. What did Ross? How many Grateful Dead albums did you listen to come to your conclusions for this evening?
Well, I've listened to a lot, but it's not been for justice. I am aware of the Dead before this, so I was revisiting a lot of Dead LPs. But I did put in the shifting because I find them a fascinating band because they should be my favorite band in the whole world, but they're not. I mean, they tick every box, which is me. I mean, my happy place is late 60s, early 70s California, and I love that psychedelics thing that goes on. I love the early 70s. I love country tinge rock. They should be just up my street. I love a bit of noodling. But I just can never get excited about them, and it's not because they do really good stuff. So like I can do without the early LPs. I think I'm not too keen on their psychedelic stuff. But when they start sounding like the band and albums like American Beauty, I really really like that. And then when they go all jazzy a little bit after that with what's the Allah LP called?
Blues for Allah.
Blues for Allah. I really like that too. So you pick an individual album, as I've been doing over the holidays, and going, I really like that, but I don't love it. And it maybe it's, as you say, it's the whole live studio thing. I think the probably the point of the Grateful Dead is the music rather than the songs, if you know what I mean. And I think I might be more of a song guy. So no, I enjoy the Dead. It's just there's something lacking, and I've never been able to work out what it is.
Succinct. Steenie. Steenie.
Just on mute. So yeah, my my feelings about the Grateful Dead. I never got into them. I always regarded them with immense suspicion. I've always thought of them as being some kind of like weird cult that like Warhammer or the Sealed Knot, or they speak as Star Trek fans. Not to obviously, my wife's a Star Trek fan, but keep that quiet. And but they speak this sort of language that no one else understands. There's this sort of shared history and this sort of bonded feeling over this, something I never quite got, and it's all soundtracked by this what I thought was this sort of slightly shoddy, like slightly amateurishly played country rock, and
It's
and I never really got it.
It's the Mixolydian mode is what he plays, Steve.
Well, there's lots of really good bands that play the Mixolydian mode, like the Allman Brothers, and
all the time he just plays. He falls asleep and plays the Mixolydian mode.
And yeah, so it's they're one of those bands, and also they're the subject of one of the biggest disappointments in my life, because my dad used to get like mum and dad used to get this Britannia music catalogue, and I saw the cover of a Grateful Dead record, and I was like, that looks great, look at the skull, and it looks really cool. And my dad said, oh, you won't like them, they don't sound how you think they sound.
Is it this, Steenie?
It might have been that. It was, yes, it was probably that picture.
Skulls and Roses live album.
Yeah, and I saw it in the it was like the Britannia Music Club or one of those sort of things. And my dad's like, you won't like it. They're not what you think they are. They're not a heavy metal band, and which is what I was into at the time. And sure enough, they weren't a heavy metal band, and in fact, they were a lot worse than a heavy metal band to my teenage years and through the rest of my life, really. So yeah, never been a fan. Never been a fan. I was given a copy of Working Man's Dead, and I listened to it, and I was like, it's exactly what Ross was saying. It should be something I like, and at the time I was like no, and then by the time I got to Casey Jones, which is the last track on that album, I was deeply offended by the implication that Casey Jones was high on cocaine, and that's why that train crash happened. I think that's just slanderous, quite frankly. He was a brave man. He died trying to save people.
Very good. Very
That's
good.
where I stood on the Dead at the time.
I think I honestly all of this is really interesting to me, because they're such an institution in America, and over here they're just this kind of strange anomaly in a way. I guess that's what Americans must make of. I don't know what an English equivalent might be, but I just there's
Oasis.
Oasis. Jesus Christ, Steve Gibson, the Dead. Where do you stand on the Dead?
Well, I think over the years, when I was, in all my formative years, I loved all the shtick, loved, they were just such a big myth about them. Oh, yeah, they played in Egypt and there's still deadheads at the pyramids and all this sort of thing. And the brand is amazing, and the t-shirts are great, except for the one you were wearing. But whenever and occasionally over the years, I've thought I'll have a little delve back into it, and all I hear is extremely bland, shabby country rock. I don't hear what I'm expecting to hear is like the best thing a band. Well, I'm of the opinion that the best thing a band can do when you see them live is just take you somewhere else, transcend what they're doing, and take you somewhere else. That's very, very difficult to achieve in rock and pop music, because there's always a bit too much ego from somewhere to truly achieve that. Now, I'm going to break with tradition a little bit, and I went to see the Rose City Band. I've seen them twice, and I didn't know who they were, but within the first two songs, I thought this is everything the Grateful Dead should be, because there's no ego. They groove like their groove is amazing. They're all on the same page, and their music. At the end of it, you just wonder, you want them to go and do the whole set again. There should be people outside swapping tapes for their gigs and stuff. I don't understand. I never heard a note, a phrase, anything in the Grateful Dead that would make me want to collect hundreds of live albums, because I just don't think they're very talented. I think they're talented at creating a brand, and they must have hit the. I'm fascinated to know how they how they got traction, but when it comes down to it, there's just nothing musically there, and I'll die on that hill, you know. But that's where but I've tried over the years. I've gone back to it thinking I'm a bit older now. I must be doing something. So I check it out. I think I bought that one in the 80s. What was when there was a video, they were all puppets. They had a bit of a big comeback, and they had a bit of a hit, actually.
They had a hit, something grey.
Yeah, it was something
Shades
grey.
of Grey or something.
I think I actually bought that album. It was a second-hand job. And I didn't mind that single, but the rest of it was just all right. It's them doing that again, but with slightly newer production than when I checked them out before. So that's sort of where I am with the Dead, to be honest with you.
Very good, very good. This is also fascinating. Simon, sorry to keep you so long, mate. You strike me as like a bit of a sort of Deadhead casualty, trying to get back to the glory days.
No. So Grateful Dead, another one of those kind of. They were the bands that people used to kind of go on about. Old stoners would go on about, like Pink Floyd and Grateful Dead and all those. I see them as all part of that same thing. And I discovered quite quickly that it wasn't worth investigating any of those bands. Every time I investigated one, they were dull. So I didn't listen to the Grateful Dead for a very long time, until I think it was on a Guitar Hero track. I think they had a track on Guitar Hero.
Is that the computer? Is that the computer game?
Yeah, where you pretend to play the guitar. It's as good as I can get. And I had a neighbour at the time, an American guy who we got on quite well, and he used to come over and play Guitar Hero with us. He was really into Wings, and he also was completely obsessed with the Grateful Dead. So I did eventually hear some Grateful Dead when we went camping with them, and I just didn't expect them to sound like they do. I'd sort of heard of them as this incredible psychedelic band. I was expecting like a kind of American Hawkwind or something like that. And they were just like, it's just vanilla.
Simon, they choogle is what they do.
They choogle?
They choogle. Apparently is what they do. But you weren't expecting the choogle. You were expecting more of a kind of psychedelic rampage with an American.
Well, that's what I'd been led to believe, or misunderstood them as being. I can't understand anybody being fascinated with them, because they just
Simon, what if you smoked like the world's biggest joint and then stood there for 4 hours watching this?
No, it'd still be terrible.
Well, millions would disagree.
Well, yes. They would.
Okay, Steenie, let's coming back to. I thought I'd just get everyone's kind of Grateful Dead thoughts before we went on to this not terribly fated album. So I thought that this gets a lot of grief because everyone says it sounds like the 80s, but to me, the Dead didn't realise it was the 80s until probably the 90s. So this doesn't sound 80s at all. The only issue with this was, of course, this was their first album. Well, I say, of course, this was because I read about it. This was their first album with this keyboard player called Brent Midland, who also wrote and sang 2 songs on it, which they're the worst ones on it. So I suppose this is notable for that as well. But Steenie, what did you think of this record, Go to Heaven?
Do you know what? I was pleasantly surprised. I steeled myself for this record. I thought, when you said the Grateful Dead, I thought, oh, hell's teeth. Here we go. 4 hours of nonsense I don't want to listen to. And it was 38 minutes long, which in itself, when I saw that, I breathed a sigh of relief. And then I started listening. I've listened initially on headphones walking into town. And I was like, this is all right. It's all right. It's not mind-blowingly brilliant. It's not as bad as I remember the Grateful Dead being. And then it progressed through the tracks, and there was like the sort of keyboardy Brett Midland ones, which are very kind of heavily influenced by lots of other bands of the period. I think it sort of progressed through that, and I was like, do you know what? This is far easier to listen than I'd anticipated. And then the second time I listened to it, it was more of a chore, and I was like, here we go. I feel a bit now. I've heard it once, and I know these. I'm trudging a bit through treacle. And then I listened to it again for the third time, and I actually found myself enjoying bits of it and picking out the tracks I liked, which is kind of what you do with a record, isn't it? I mean, this is how you get into listening to albums.
It's certainly what we have to do doing this bloody podcast.
Yeah.
We have these weird deep listening experiences with these weird records.
I've developed something of an affection for this record that I'm against all of my previously held principles regarding the Grateful Dead. I found myself actively enjoying parts of it. It is a curate's egg, but it's, even the more sort of sulphurous and rank bits of the egg are unpalatable. It's I quite like some of those sort of jazzy stylings that Brett Midland brings in. I like the fact that there's bits of it that sound just like Steely Dan, and I really like Steely Dan. And I'm like, and I can hear all these influences. It's so odd that they sort of assimilate. They seem to have kind of, where I suppose at one point they were leading the pack in a way. They seem to be sort of chasing something that's already been and gone. That sort of airbrushed kind of CSN Steely Dan. There's a couple of songs on this that sound like sort of the Little Feat songs that I like less on the Little Feat albums, but still, that's period correct sort of stuff. The Doobie Brothers,
These
Brothers, the Michael
days,
McDonald style vocals of Brett. It refers to that in the Wikipedia article, isn't it, about his vocal styling sounding a bit Michael McDonald, and he kind of does. He's not as good as Michael McDonald, but
it gets called yacht rock these days, doesn't it?
It really is yacht rock,
By twats.
And what I thought listening to it was, there's occasionally you go down to the beach hut that friends have got down at Muddyford Quay. We borrow it for a couple of days and stay there, and all of the people who sort of there's the whole community of people who camp out in that place, and at night time they all get bottles of red wine out, sit outside with candles, and half of them listen to like Bob Seger, and the other half are listening to Steely Dan. They're all like old now. They're all like in their 70s. A lot of the people who sort of spend their entire summer down there. And this album, I can just imagine it wafting around. I can imagine me listening to this, sat there and just going, "This is all right, isn't it? Glass of wine, bit of Grateful Dead."
We've sorted out your summer, Steenie. We've sorted out summer 26 is for you. Is this?
I can't say that it's like, it's not an album that I love. It doesn't inspire any kind of great emotion in me, but it made me quite jolly.
Ross, how jolly are you feeling having listened to all these Brent Midland songs?
I'm with Steenie. I'm in the jolly camp with this one. And I had a very similar experience. The more I listened to it, the more I liked it. I wouldn't say by any chalk it's my favorite Dead album or the best Dead album, but I found it a lot of fun. The fact it starts and ends on this sort of, hoedown, little feety type thing is very good. I think there's some interesting stuff going on elsewhere. I think there's a lull in the middle, which is the two tracks. I Feel Like a Stranger and Lost Sailor. One sounds a bit Al Jarreau-ish, and that's the two tracks which really do sound very 80s. And I think that the Dead, even though they have this impression of being sort of above the crowd and sort of sailing on their own faro, I think if you listen to their career, you can hear they're influenced by the time as much as everyone else. The 67, 68 stuff is doing that West Coast psychedelic stuff. The 70 stuff is doing the band, and then they're sort of moving a bit jazzy at the same time that Santana are doing it. And it may well be that the Dead are leading this. It may not be that, that they are cutting the thing. But I think if you pick out a Dead album, and you'd be able to tell what period it's from. And I think this is starting to sound that where it doesn't work in those two tracks is when it really does sound 80s. And it's really weird. I don't know what it is about that early 80s production which just grates so much. I don't ever listen to something and think, cool, that was a bit 1970s production. But there's something about that early 80s. And I think it might have something to do with the fact that the technology was becoming easy to use. That it just anyone could do it, so you did a lot of it and it became really obvious. Whereas if you head back into the late 50s, but people, not everyone could do that slap back echo because, some studio had equipment they wouldn't let anyone see. And I think maybe in the 80s, everyone can do it with a push of a button. So I think it's sort of, there's this really dull two song bit, but the rest of it, yeah, I think I found myself enjoying to it and listening to it more than I needed to come to an assessment for this thing. I actually had it on today when I was cooking, just because I wanted to hear it. And yeah, I'm jolly with Steenie.
Isn't it funny? The Dead, more is more. More is more is more is more is more. I disagree about the 80s thing. I think perhaps some of the songwriting, some of the Brett Midland songwriting, it is a bit 80s-ish. But I honestly don't. I can't hear any of those gated drums or any of that. I don't think 80s production has seeped into this yet. I love the story of the pre-production for this. Jerry Garcia demanded a version that he could drive around in his car and listen to in his car stereo just to check it sounded good on AM radio in his car. But they cared that much in 1980. Bless. Steve, what did you make of this?
Am I going to get a tie-dye t-shirt and a red headband? No, I'm not. I just put this on and it was, oh, right, it's the Grateful Dead, but slightly as complete as I expected it to be. I think first highlight was the drummer attempting a funk number. They should have, I'd rather hear Neil Peart play it, and I'm a huge Neil Peart fan, but I don't want to hear him playing funk. And then the Steely Dan influence, it's such a pound shot budget, Steely Dan, the easy to love at the end. It's they're not good enough. They've obviously listened to a bit of, Eternal Ecstasy or whatever it was, and just, oh God, it's just the Dead doing what they do. I thought I was enjoying it more than I thought I would first listen. Second listen, I was a Steenie thinking this is such a chore, and third listen, I'd started skipping through just to sort of make my notes and remind myself. But I couldn't listen to the Easy to Love thing again because it was just too shit for words. But I still nothing transcended, nothing made me want. I can't imagine the volume of drugs you'd have to be on to want to hear extended versions of this noodled about live. So
just high on life, Steve. Just high on life. That's what you need.
You know this stuff. If you listen to on Spotify, if you go to their albums, like I would say about like 95% of their albums are live albums, Dick's Picks, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But I thought this is what we do, right? I thought I'd go through all of those until I could find a live album from this era. And I found one I think it was from New Jersey. I can't remember where it was from, and it had Althea, and it had Lost Sailor and Saint of Circumstance and Easy to Love You as part of their massive 4-hour set.
A couple of I was reading a couple of the songs of sort of became sort of big set in stone in the set sort of thing.
Yeah, the song, that's the song. Althea is the I think they did a poll of Deadheads, and Althea was like their number 5. The fans' fifth favorite.
The mind boggles.
Which I thought was great. It's one with their very high pitch.
Yeah, and when do they send the poll out? So I don't know. It's 4 a.m. after
and I think 75% of people were dead. Oh, literally. Anyway, but my point about listening to the live album was they just sounded terrible. The whole thing sounded terrible. So I thought, the live versions are gonna they're gonna really
feel it now.
They're gonna burn, man, like made in Japan or something. But no, it just sounded really trebly and weird.
Tighten my headband for an extra.
It sounded really jolly, like Steenie and Ross, it sounded really jolly and major key. Speaking about jolly and major key, Simon.
Hello.
What did you think of Go to Heaven?
I hate this record. Actively hate this record. So there's often you put records on that are bad or that you don't like, but this angers me. It made me really cross. I think maybe the Yngwie Malmsteen album angered me, and Steely Dan, whenever I hear them, anger me, and so does Santana. And this is in that same category. It made me want to break things. It's just so. I mean, I've listened to it, I don't know, what, 3 or 4 times? That's as much as I could tolerate. And I couldn't tell you anything about any of the songs. There's just nothing, there's no interest value about any of it. Although the least offensive track is Lost Sailor, in my opinion. That one didn't make me angry. But the fucking stupid false end, like accidental ending on the song before,
Oh yeah, yeah.
that's
Feel like-
really annoying. The little 39-second sort of percussion thing is okay. The one where they're doing that sort of horrible Steely Dan funk nonsense made me want to throw my computer out the window. It's just a horrible, horrible record. It's probably worse than Steely Dan, and I don't dislike many things more than I dislike Steely Dan. I'd love to have something interesting to say about it, but it's just awful, 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 awful music.
Simon, have you heard any other Grateful Dead studio albums?
No, so my plan was originally, because I thought, okay, well, this is my opportunity to investigate the Grateful Dead, because I've never really bothered. And my plan was to pick up on some of the tips from the chat about the good Grateful Dead records. But I was so pleased when it was over that I didn't have to listen to any more Grateful Dead, that I didn't get round to listening to earlier albums, because I couldn't voluntarily put myself through any more than I had to listen to in order to do the pod.
Yeah, but if you ever do get around to that, American Beauty is a good in.
Okay, is that the one with Kevin Spacey in it?
Yes, exactly.
Right. Okay, I'll try. I'll do this year. I'll try American Beauty, and then I'll tell you personally in our private life how much I hated that.
Perfect. Steenie, so should we go into what time is it? Is it too early to go into summings up? Steve,
well, you haven't given us your opinion yet, Seb. What's your opinion on it? I don't remember you talking about it.
I'm like everyone else, really. I love the idea of it. I think they're brilliant at marketing, like Iron Maiden. I think their album covers are great. I think the visuals really well. I've got, back in the day when you had to buy albums, I've got about 4 or 5. Great. I've got Live Dead. I've got Axe of Mama, whatever it's called. I've got Blues Traveler. I've got, and I dig them out. I used to dig them out, and they never quite deliver. They with the Dead, you've got to think, what's the journey, not the destination. You get into the vibe, But it's not. I don't think their music. I don't think their vibe is particularly suited to an English mentality. I just think it's about there's a kind of Midwest. Let's smoke a massive joint. I don't really care about music. Let's look at the hot girls. Hey man, let's get. And I think that's a kind of. As what Steve was saying, or I think what other people said, it's a sort of, it's not terribly musical. It's cod Steely Dan, it's a bit cod jazz, it's a bit cod prog, it's cod everything. It never resolves. It sounds nice. I like Joe Garcia's voice. I like his guitar playing, because it's kind of, nothing's really happening. It's almost like ambient music. And I think the studio albums are a very different thing to live albums, because someone of like, about 20 years ago, someone I used to swap music with, like MP3s and that sort of thing, he sent me like a sort of 30 gigabyte sound file of just what he considered the best Grateful Dead, hours and hours, like about 30 hours of Grateful Dead live stuff. And I've still got it sitting upstairs. I think I must investigate that one day, those 30 hours of Grateful Dead, which my friend who's got great taste in music sent. But we all know what it sounds like, right? And it's like this kind of like mostly in the major key, Mix Lydian, and Dark Star. It's a great song, and I just think if you had a playlist, right, a kind of late night playlist of chill music, it doesn't really do anything or go anywhere. It doesn't really need to go anywhere. You could put on a really great Grateful Dead track, and you in that playlist, and it'd be great, right? But as an entity, as a kind of living, breathing entity, I think it's I don't understand it, and I genuinely think it's one of those kind of transatlantic misunderstandings between cold, wet England, which comes out with the music that we come out with, and warm, lazy, wealthy. You know, do you know what I mean? So you did ask. So, Steenie, give us a summing up, favorite song, and a favorite, because we're going to do a playlist. We're going to do a favorite track. So we all have. So, Steenie, can you give me summing up and a favorite track and a score?
So, it's summing up. I would say pleasant surprise. It made me dig out that copy of Working Man's Dead again and listen to it again, and I didn't despise it, and I found myself enjoying parts of that. It was so. Who knows where my Grateful Dead journey will take me? I mean, probably not much further than American Beauty and a couple of others, if I can be bothered. But this didn't irritate me, and I can't really see why there's so much detestation for it among the Grateful Dead faithful. Other than that, I know that in other cultish bands, the quite often the most commercially acceptable album that is usually the one that they all despise, like such as Unconditionally Guaranteed for Beefheart and which everyone hates, and I think's got some really good songs on, and and you know, there's countless others, but anyway, yeah, I would say I you know, not the torture fest that I'd envisaged initially. So my favourite tracks probably between Althea and Saint of Circumstance, I think.
Okay, so you have to
Saint
give me one.
I'm going to go with Saint of Circumstance because it's got that upbeat thing, and it's got quite a lot of little changes within, and I found it quite, you know, interesting to listen to in a way that some of the tracks sort of just glid along. This one actually was quite attention grabbing and kept my interest.
Attention grabbing, come on.
Well, in a way, you know, it's at least it's up tempo. and my score for this as well.
Yeah, go on.
So my score, I reckon, I'm going to give it a sort of suitably kind of period score of 68. As in 1968, but
thank you. Ross.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I just think Stevie's speaking there about this. Well, why would this be quintessentially in America? Why wouldn't we get that? And I think there is they're quite an unusual band for having this reputation as the live thing being the thing way above anything in the studio, possibly at a time when most other bands were going the other way. But also this ability for people to, to stick their, jump in their Cadillac and, and drive and sit in fields, getting stoned all across the States, which you can't do here. You can't put your deadhead sticker on a Ford Focus and go and, it's Leicester tonight and tomorrow it's Northampton. We just can't do that. And I think maybe that whole experience of the long road trip is just, it's just we're just not built for that. So you're probably right. There's something missing there. So yeah, the Dead. I say this is not my favorite Dead album, and they've always lacked something for me. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I guess I'm probably going to get thrown off the pod for my favorite song here. But my favorite song was "Easy to Love You." I quite like that little bit of syncopation that was going on there. I thought that was really nice.
1 bar of 3/4, Ross. Don't be fooled.
Yeah, and no, I really enjoyed this. I'm going to give it a 65.
Thank you, Ross. Mr. Gibson.
Well, this is what I don't get because, I read a quote from Garcia saying how recording was a necessary evil and he hated it because it's, obviously stifling his creativity and his flow. But you sort of think, yeah, okay, that's a fair comment. That's interesting. Then you actually make an effort to listen to the live stuff and it sounds like this album. So I don't get it. I don't see it. That said, I mean, that annoys me. But apart from that, it's very difficult to get. It's difficult to get what in this day and age with everything that's going on in the world. I mean, how can you get worked up about music like this? It just passes like a cloud past and whatever. So Didn't like it. Favorite song. Oh, I don't know. What's Althea? That one? That
Alfia, yeah.
probably that one. And Mark's 15, just because it went and it didn't and that's I'm basing that mark on the fact that I didn't have to listen to too much else Grateful Dead to realize that nothing's going to change my mind now. I'm 56 and that's it. That's it. I don't have to listen to any more ever again. It's not going to when I'm 70, I'm not going to put a Grateful Dead album and suddenly go, oh, I get it. Oh man, I get it. It's not going to happen. I know that now. So we can all move on.
I sort of see that. I think we're all secretly thinking, oh, maybe it will just click. There's
Not
something
now. This was a watershed for me.
Was it? This is
Yeah,
the thing.
totally,
Oh,
yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I
That's
spoiled
good.
your retirement.
It's good, I've got plenty of other things to listen to.
The Garcia solo albums were quite good.
Oh, the other thing is, the shambles they made of the Dylan songs. I mean, whose idea was that? And Jesus Christ.
But you think that's bad? On the album before this, on Terrapin Station, they do a disco cover of Dancing in the Street.
No.
Oh,
They do. Yeah. We'll put a link in the comments.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to listen to that now.
Yeah. Put it on, see, while I'm doing this.
No, don't, because we'll get kicked off.
Then you'll start seeing me dancing.
That's my point.
Yeah.
It'll be too distracting. I'll be jigging around, having a great time.
Simon, I demand a serious answer to your song of the album.
I've got one.
You got one?
No, I have. Lost Sailor, because it was the only one that didn't make me angry.
What was it you liked about Lost Sailor?
It didn't make me angry. And I'd been quite angry for 4 songs before that, and I was quite angry for 4 songs afterwards.
Was it the lyrics that chilled you out? Was it lyrics or the
No, it was
melody
the fact that it didn't have any real defining musical features at all, and so it just kind of washed over me. All the others had something that poked out that made me want to I don't know, turn it off. Yeah, so Lost Sailor's all right, I suppose. I'll never listen to the Grateful Dead again either, Steve. Terrible, terrible band. Hateful, dreadful. Just everything that's terrible about music. And in fact, it's not even. It's generous to call it music. And it can have 5.
So hang on, I'm just writing down your favourite song now. Lost Sailor.
Yeah.
And how many marks out of 100?
5.
Okay.
Because I'm feeling generous.
Okay. My favourite song was also Althea, which I really liked. I liked the guitar solo, all very high register. Unusual to have that long period of soloing in a high register. It just worked really well. I have no idea. I hadn't even thought about a number here. I'm going to give it 35 because I thought because it's just a sort of, I don't know really. I don't even know. I haven't really got any thoughts about it. It just, as Steve said, it just passes by. It just drifts by, and you think, well, it starts. They all start with a song that's kind of like a here's a boogie. Here we are. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Nurse, bang, bang, bang. Nurse. It's a boogie. It's a boogie. Here you are. Anyway, right. Christ. Calculator. Right. 15 plus 65 plus 68. 68. Okay, now plus 5 plus 35 equals divided by 5.
For Steve Hackett's positivity crown. This 6, I think.
So we have 37.6, which sounds like our sort of number. 37.6 puts it. Oh my! Just 37 Okay, that puts it number 14. Okay, so that goes. It's in between Chris Cornell's Scream. Thanks, Steenie, for that one, and Alice Cooper's Dada. So this rate's higher than Alice Cooper's Dada by 0.2%. Which feels a bit harsh, doesn't it?
It's
That's
fair
a good
album.
album. I enjoyed that.
There we go. Ross, it's your turn.
It is my turn. Yes. It's an album I've not listened to, but a band who I know reasonably well. And I was a little reluctant because this album has got such a bad reputation, but I figured, well, I haven't listened to it, so let's reputation to reputation. So it mines a couple of themes which we've done quite a few times. One, a band who are still creating an album after key creative members have left, and also a fairly well respected band, and the album that's widely considered to be their dud. So we're going to 1985, and we're going to be listening to The Clash and Cut the Crap.
Okay, I don't know it. Anyone else know it? Simon, I bet you know.
I don't actually.
Steenie?
I've listened to it once.
Gibson?
I never even heard any Clash till I joined this sort of punk band that I do covers with, and the love for the Clash amongst the people that come and see that band and the band is overwhelming. And there was like loads of songs they assumed I just knew them, but I'd never heard them before in my life. So their shit album, no, I've not heard it. I know it's not well thought of. I can tell you that much. I think it's a good choice. I think it's a good choice.
It's a great choice. Are there any singles?
To the point where they just, if you talk to Clash fans about it, they don't even mention it. They just, it's just sort of like.
Well, apparently on the Clash's official website, it's not even listed. It's like ignored.
Wow. Was there a big lineup change, Ross? Or?
Yeah. It's Jones isn't on it.
Okay.
And yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Interesting listen.
Very good. Very good. Perfect for us. Yeah. Interesting transition from the Grateful Dead to the Clash. The Clash was it big in America? Because the Clash got very big in America, didn't they? Very suddenly, late in their career. Was Cut the Crap perhaps a concession to their American?
And the famous run-in with Van Halen as well. Don't forget.
At number 88 on the US chart.
Okay. Let's hope there's some chugling on this one. Thanks, everybody. Please like and subscribe. And that's the end. Thanks for watching. Oh, sorry. Thanks, Steenie.
Oh, for what?
for this. We'll say goodbye. Sorry.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Goodbye, Steenie. Goodbye, Ross.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Simon.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Steve.
Bye.
And it's goodbye from me. Goodbye.